Hi, welcome back to another video. Today's video will be an attempt for me to read all the shortlisted International Booker Prize for this year. I have not looked at them yet because I have been saving them for this video to see my reaction with you. I did not read the long list. I didn't read any book from the long list, but I do have some sort of prediction or books that I'm hoping are on the shortlist, either because I've heard great things about them or because the premise sounded really interesting and I want to read those books. So the first book that I want to be in there is Solenoid. I've heard great things about it even before it was nominated. I've heard that it was one of many people's best book of last year, especially Brock's favorite book. He talked about it so much last year. And the next book I want to see in there is Small Boats. I don't remember the name of the author, but the premise sounds really interesting. Next up is the Under the Eyes of the Bird, or Under the Watchful Bird, something like that. I don't remember the title, but the premise sounded really interesting. And the last book I want to see there is the Book of Disappearance. The other books I don't really have any, I don't know what they're about, to be honest, and I did not look it up, so I'm just going to see right now. I have their Instagram open so that I can see if I am kind of right or not. So let's see. We have On the Calculation of Volume 1 by translated from Danish. I haven't heard of this one. I actually don't know what it's about. I didn't see anyone talk about it. Small Boats, which is the book that I was hoping to be on this list, is on this list. Under the Eye of the Big Bird is also on this list. Perfection, Heartland, and Leopard's Skin Hat. So Solenoid isn't here, and Solenoid is not here, and what's the other called? The Book of Disappearance is also not here. And the comments are also saying that Solenoid was the most interesting, genre-defying, poignant book I've ever read, and they're shocked that Solenoid did not move on. So I'm going to read these books that are nominated right now, but I definitely want to read Solenoid and the Book of Disappearance later on this year, because I've heard so many great things. I can't just not talk about it. And also I think it was kind of good, not for the prize, but for me, because I cannot read over 600 pages in, I don't know how long they have left, like 2 weeks or maybe a month before they announce the winner. So I'm excited to read these books. I don't know which one I'm going to start with first. Maybe I'm going to start with Small Boats because it's the shortest and the one I said I'm looking forward to read. And next up I'm going to read Under the Eye of the Big Bird. I'm going to read 3 this vlog and 3 some other time, like the next weeks hopefully. So let's just get started, and I finished the first book in this video. I ended up reading Under the Eye of the Big Bird. It took me a while to get into this book, but that's because of, I think it's my fault, because I did not know that it's a short story collection. It's a short story collection made out of interconnected short stories, but it's also not written in a linear way, so you're kind of just thrown into this world and you don't know what's actually going on. And I didn't know that it was a short story collection, so I was hoping that we're following a set of main characters in the first short story. I thought that just the first chapter, and then the second chapter we're following a second different characters, and I was hoping that we're going to get something that will link them together, or something that will explain something that I will understand what's going on. But that only happened until until halfway through, when we got introduced to Jacob and Ian, when they kind of hinted at what's actually going on in this story. But my favorite short story, since this is a short story, and the ones that I think explain everything and the ones that make this whole book worth it, are the second to last and the last short story, because they basically explain to you everything that you have read before, and you don't know what are you reading. You now have a meaning for what you read, and you have an explanation on what actually happened. So I realized that I did not actually explain what this book is about. This is about a futuristic world, thousands of years in the future, where humanity is facing extinction, and there are only few people left in the world, and they're trying to solve this problem of humans going extinct. This short story collection tackles so many topics, but my personal favorite was the discussion around AI, because it felt kind of realistic, even though what's happening is in a dystopian world and it's obviously many years in the future, but it felt like humanity might go that route. Humanity might go that route because in the second to last chapter they were explaining how they were using the metaphor of I forgot the word, but like hitting those things that pop up off the ground, and as things progressed, they kind of got lazy and they just left them do that. And the things that pop up off the ground are basically AI, and AI progressing and taking over, or in this case merging with humans, and like there's no distinction between human and AI anymore. Also, I think in the beginning I felt like the writing was super dry, and I didn't know if it's just the writing, but after reading the last two chapters, I realized why the writing was super dry. It makes sense. So overall, the story was wrapped up really nicely, and I enjoyed every discussion about community, about AI, and everything like that. But I would say that those last two chapters are the ones that actually made this short story collection actually good for me, because prior to that I was actually going to give the book 2 stars, because I thought that we're just not going to get any answers. We're just going to basically see different communities in different parts of the planet, different parts of maybe planets. I'm not sure if it's one country or this is set or throughout the whole earth, but just different communities. Every one of them has their different dynamics, different physical aspects of humans, because in this world, like, humans kind of separated and they evolved separate from one another. Each group has their own characteristics, and I thought that they would just leave it at that, but the last 2 chapters kind of saved this book for me, and I actually did like it. Now I'm tempted to reread it again now that I know what I do know, but I have to read the other nominees. So I ended up giving this book 3 stars, not because I did not enjoy it, but I feel like I just was a bit confused. Maybe it's my fault because I did not realize that it's a short story collection. I was hoping for a full-length novel, but I still enjoyed it, and I still would recommend this book if you are interested in seeing those sort of discussions, and if you don't mind dry writing, because although it makes sense in the end, before reaching the end it just feels super dry and super robotic. And that's all I had to say about this book. And I already picked up the second book in this video. I picked up Perfection. This is the translation from Italian, and so far I'm already halfway through it and I'm enjoying it. I will let you know what I think about it when I finish it, and I will see you then. I finished Perfection last night. It took me less than a day to finish it. It's very short and it's very readable. It's about an Italian couple, Tom and Anna, who live in Berlin. They are both graphic designers and they work remotely from home. They are freelancers because they want to have the freedom of having freelance instead of like working in an office job, and they feel like their life is perfect online. Like, the pictures that they post and the way that they describe their life is literally perfect. Here's where the title is coming from, the perfection. They are trying to portray this perfect life, that they live in this perfect life, but deep down they are unable to find fulfillment to their life. They're bored by their jobs. They find it repetitive. They don't feel the same passion that they used to feel when they first started this job. They also feel like they kind of don't belong anywhere, although they love Berlin. Their like circle, their friend circle, every time like some person leaves, either because of the rising prices or because something happens in their life and they have to go back to their original country, so they feel like it's inevitable that someone is going to leave, and they are trying to chase they're trying to find the same feeling that they found when they first moved to Berlin, and the passion that they found in the beginning, and they no longer feel like they belong in there because of gentrification that they have contributed to, and the fact that there's also a section where they don't consider themselves immigrants, but they consider themselves expats. And when the immigrants were coming to Germany, they consider themselves different from that, and they kind of started doing this performative activism to feel like they are involved, knowing that their involvement isn't actually helping anyone, because they're not fluent in German and they don't speak Arabic, and their job, which is graphic design, isn't really something that will help people it's not really such an important job that will actually provide value to those immigrants. I found that the discussions in this book really interesting, And I related some of these aspects in this book because I'm also a freelancer and a front-end developer, and they have touched on that a little bit because they are not only are they graphic designers, but they also do some front-end development a little bit. So I feel like that kind of I kind of related to that a little bit. The fact that you're doing freelance for freedom, but then you don't really have freedom. It's just kind of made up freedom because you're not really free. And I personally, the reason that I gave this book 3.5 stars instead of a higher rating, obviously it's not 5 stars because I don't feel like this is the best book I've ever read. It's not a favorite book. The author keeps mentioning Israel a lot in this book. It's the only country, I think, apart from the US, that is mentioned. That, just for that mention, I kind of had to like lower my rating a little bit because I feel like mentioning that there was no reason to mention that. And also I feel like this kind of felt like I don't know, mentioning that kind of felt like in Gilmore Girls, where they used to name drop Israel every single episode. I finished the third book in this video. It's Small Boats, and this is inspired by a real life story. This tells you the story of migrants who are going from France to the UK, and they drowned in the sea. And we're seeing this story from the perspective of the person who was responsible for getting help to those people, and she didn't want to do that. She kept asking them if they are in French waters or British waters, and in the end she said help is not coming. And she has received so much backlash because she told them help is not coming, and people were obviously angry at her because she not only did she not provide help, but she also made sure to tell the person who is asking her for help, and he is very scared to be in that position. And we are seeing her basically try to explain herself and try to find excuses of why what she did is okay, and why it's not her fault that those people died and drowned, and why she shouldn't care about them. And this is split into 3 parts. The first part, we're seeing her, and she's going through this she's being questioned by this police investigator. And the second part is from the perspective of one of the people who is drowning in that boat. And the third one is also her, but at this time she's kind of losing it. She's thinking about everything, and she's thinking about all the things that happened, and she's basically every time she sees a body of water, she remembers those people that have died. And her reasoning for not helping these people is the fact that she wasn't the one telling them to go to the sea, and for that it's their fault because they put themselves in the sea knowing that it has these dangers. I wouldn't say I enjoyed this book, but it was definitely an experience. I gave this one 3.5 stars. So far I haven't found anything that I would say is my favorite book so far. I'm going to split this video into 2. I've read the first 3, and I will do the next video out talking about the other 3, and hopefully for the other 3 I find books that I actually enjoy, because so far I didn't hate anything, but I also didn't love anything. They were all completely average for me right now. So I will see you in the part 2 very soon, and thank you for watching. Goodbye.